Jason, thank you so much for helping with my project. I was wondering if you could introduce yourself.
My name's Jason Mormon. I'm from Orangefield, Texas. Born July 24th, 1976. I've known Nathan since I was probably, 10? Somewhere in there.
Yeah, middle school.
I spent probably the last 25 years of my life as a fabricator, boilermaker, ironworker, rigger, whatever. Pretty well know how to do a lot of the stuff that the engineers know how to do in the refineries. But I'm pretty sure I can learn some other things.
And there's three basic questions I like to ask people, but they're just like conversation starters. We could take them in any way you want to. The first thing is, did you know that NASA is planning to send people back to the moon in 2024?
I didn't know that, but I kind of figured that was eventually going to happen because they're going to need a docking station for people because they can't go from here to where they're trying to go. They're looking at a neutral place to where they can meet up, relax to go to their next trip. I understand that.
And plus, the moon is such a big body of resources, like right
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot of resources there. I mean, it's access. It's more not resource, but access. Kind of a center point.
Did you know that they discovered water ice on the poles of the moon?
No, I did not. But
Yeah,
it's been to see that because looking at it from here to there, you can see what we would think are glaciers.
yeah. There's like, the moon only has like a 1 degree tilt with respect to the sun, and it has like these big craters on the poles, and it has
Hmm.
no atmosphere. So in these craters, there's areas that never get sunlight,
Yeah.
and it's like colder than Pluto. And so over billions of years, comets have hit the moon, and then like water molecules have made it into these areas and gotten trapped. It's kind of,
So basically, the temperature on the moon doesn't allow for growth. Basically.
I mean, if you're in those like equatorial regions, like during the day, it's like, something like 200, 300 degrees Celsius. And then at night is like 200, 300 degrees negative Celsius.
Yeah.
It's like really, really
That's
cold.
plant life wouldn't survive because of the lack of atmosphere. But I could see them doing a biodome up there and eventually finding a way to make the ground absorb.
I, I was, how they have Greenpeace, the environmental activists. I was imagining, could you imagine someday you like look up and like the moon is becoming like all these greenhouses and the gray is turning into green? Then you could have like a gray piece, which would be
I,
protesting.
I see that.
Yeah. Um. So, do you know the last time we went to the moon?
If I'm not mistaken, 2012, 2013.
Would you believe 1972?
Wow.
I know. Can
Why,
you believe it's been so long?
why would it be 1972 with all the missions they've taken?
They've only been to low Earth orbit. The
Uh,
shuttle never went more than like 200, 300 miles away from the
so
Earth.
within satellite range and repair.
Exactly. They were just experiencing free fall, and our weightlessness.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see that, but why they're there? Why haven't they been working forward instead of working neutral?
I mean, it's a good question. They've been doing a lot of experiments with weightlessness. Seeing its effect.
How far along they would be if they would have continued their work in that point. I can understand that it's a lot further from where they were talking. They were going in general, but there's so much AB jet fuel out there because I've been in refineries where they make it, and there's tons of it, but they use it here. I mean, I look for them one day to be greedy, and once we reach the point of aeronautic travel, not just for the astronauts, but for normal everyday people or people with money wanting to go from here to Jupiter, here to Mars, or whatever, to those docking stations, I could see people getting greedy and wanting to go and mine other planets, which would be ignorant. But – I mean, I think planet Earth is in in trouble right now, but not at this point because we have stood still long enough for the earth to heal a little bit. But it's not going to be enough, you know.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I do believe that the sun is causing a lot of the issues we got going on right now. I've noticed that the sun's rays that are coming down right now on us during the daytime feels like August of, you know, the hottest point of the year because the rays that are coming off the sun are so hot. My skin is hot when I'm outside, you know, and it's like an August hot, not a spring hot.
Now, you were talking about how the earth is healing from people stop driving and burning as much energy and stuff during this COVID-19 thing.
Outside, which means, I mean, to be honest with you, I know that people are still doing that, but look at all the stuff that we have stopped doing. We've stopped drilling, okay? Which means that the world is able to accumulate it back somewhat. Maybe they're taking billions of years, but what if there's a source there that, you know, it's like a bloodstream in somebody that had an infection, and as long as it's left alone long enough and the body slows down, it's going to heal from that and it's going to renew itself. I don't think the earth is going to completely renew itself at this point, but I can understand the idea of, you know, our Congress trying to slow down the fossil fuel industry, and they're greedy people in the world. They want money. But you know what? It's time to let the earth rebuild itself.
Yeah. And that actually gets kind of into my next question. The second question I like to ask people is, what do you think about space exploration? I mean, like, how's it fit into your view of things?
My opinion, I think in the next 20 years, we're going to be there. And aeronautics is the future. There's no way around it. We've gone everywhere around the world except the Bermuda Triangle. And, you know, that's the only place that we haven't explored because we are in fear of it, you know, because so many people have gone and never come back. But I think that there are other galaxies stacked on top of each other that we don't see. And I do know that I pay attention. The Hubble scope has seen it.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing how many stars are out there and how pretty much every one of those stars has planets.
Well, there's other solar systems too.
Yeah, definitely.
Not everybody in the general public know because they don't pay attention to the scientific aspect of life and what they have discovered. Nobody wants to. People are so wrapped up in their own lives that they don't expand their mind and their horizons of things. I mean, we're on the verge of this exploration of the other world other than our world, but yet nobody wants to put forth the effort to soak in the knowledge.
And
that makes sense.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're so wrapped up in their own lives. I mean, there's so many selfish people in this world.
What would it take to change it? I mean, or is it even possible to change? Do we have to just live with it?
What would it take to change it?
Change people being wrapped up in their lives.
Show them there's other things in life. Well, I mean, right now, people are learning. I mean, these cell phones are the biggest downfall to relationships with other people. Relations, period. You know, every time I look at a married couple in a restaurant, each one of them have a cell phone in front of them. They're not looking at each other's, you know. Me and my wife do it all the time. But at the end of the day, we spend time with each other. And not every couple's like that, you know. And that the children are learning from their parents, and what are they learning?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the times we were growing up, and we actually went out and explored the world.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we didn't have phones. We didn't have computers, really.
By the time we grew up, we knew what we wanted to be. And we pretty much trained ourselves to go that direction. You know. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true. I feel like, do you think people are less of interest that are growing up today than they were when we were growing up?
People nowadays aren't. I mean, the kids that are coming up, I'd say in the age group of 22 and down to 19, 18. They grew up in a game era. They lived in a fantasy world, playing fantasy games all the time. That's all they live for. School games, school games, school games. On the weekends, school games. They don't take the time to make friends anymore. Not like we did. And you know, even the generation before them, they're at that half point. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They're at that point to where they're leaning to, I'm getting older. Where are all the people I'm supposed to know? They're out there. You totally bypassed them by sitting in front of a video game.
Do you do you think this is going to lead to like civilization collapsing?
As far as this right now, the coronavirus,
No, like the fact that this generation is so wrapped up in games and the virtual stuff and not connecting.
the lack of communication, yes, causes hot headedness. You know, people don't get to know each other anymore. And civilization now, compared to when we were growing up, we knew how to relate to people. We knew how to respect and trust people. Nowadays, nothing but disrespect. And nothing but, I mean, all they do is they sit on their phones and they don't talk to each other. They text each other, but there's no communication anymore. You know, the people that are dying off now are the ones that taught us.
Yeah.
And someone needs to teach them, you know.
Now, what do you think about the idea of like raising kids in a non-technological environment at first? Like where you have to go out and do physical labor and you have to put everything together and you don't have like the luxuries, and slowly introducing like luxuries throughout their life.
I can see that. The Amish still do that to this day.
Yeah.
I know that. And honestly, that'd be a good idea. And see, what I'm thinking is I've watched many movies over the years, and there's a few of them that stuck in my mind. The one I sent you earlier,
Hmm.
the Gator, that movie, that actually opened my mind to the aeronautics section of life. Okay, and in the scientific part of how to fly a thing, and with no fossil fuels, is electronic, and it's magnetic fields working against each other for your travel. You know, and then I just I don't think there's a future for these people playing games on their phone. Playing games. I mean, somebody needs to do something somewhere to where they're teaching kids trades coming up. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. You know,
Yeah.
I've instructed people how to weld. I've learned and I've taught, and the applying yourself as adults nowadays, it's not there.
And
People start off.
that's a good point. I mean, everything is so theoretical. I mean, you're doing math, but you don't know why. You're doing science, you don't know why. But what if you actually learned like carpentry in middle school, elementary school?
Putting your hands in the cookie jar while the cookies are being made gives you a whole new respect,
Hmm.
you know, versus enjoying the spoils after the labor's been done and you weren't the one that did it. So you
Yeah.
don't know how good that cookie tastes if you didn't make it. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. I mean, a lot of people think a farm is the grocery store, and they just pick up the food off of the.
If anybody knows that I grew up on a farm, you know, my grandparents had that farm right there in Orangeville, and we fed all of our town. We butchered every year, and everybody in Orangeville bought stuff from us. They bought our produce. We sold to farmers market on 105. We sold to farmers market in Port Arthur, and we sold to Hatton's in Bridge City. We sold to Market Basket in Bridge City. We sold all these.
Um, Other like tidbits. Have you heard of Elon Musk?
The what?
Elon Musk.
I've heard the name before. What is it?
So he has an electric car company, Tesla. A lot of people know him from that, but he also has
I know what you're talking about.
a space company, SpaceX.
Yes.
And in fact, today they actually had a launch. But one of the things that he's been doing is most companies build a rocket to use. Oh, go ahead.
I saw launch where they built a little miniature space station and a launch station.
Yeah,
I saw it.
yeah, and most rocket companies they build the rocket to use one time and then they throw it away.
Yes.
He's been building a rocket that the first stage will come back and land. They refurbish it, refuel it, and use it again.
Repurpose is the
And
word.
and the price is much lower for him. So much so that the Russians are complaining that he's dumping launch services on the market and they can't compete.
Yeah. And see, I'm a repurposer myself, so I know where he's coming from. I repurpose lumber. Okay. I go into a house down and I see some really nice wood and I'll keep it and I'll use it for a project. Like, we're moving out of Beaumont here pretty soon, and we're moving to Lakeview in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's around us, and I'm going to open my mechanic shop there and my fabrication there. So if somebody needs something built, I'll build it there.
Now, you mentioned you wanted to build rockets and spaceships.
I really want to build the first magnetically controlled aeronautic ship. That's the only way to say that.
That would be awesome to see, being able to.
It will be propelled by magnetic fields, and it'll be not just one magnetic field because they'll do nothing but spin in circles, up and down, round and round like this. You want to build two, one on each side. That way, you can turn, you can go up, you can go down, you can go forward and backwards.
Have you thought about creating like a model one, just to demonstrate it?
I would like to, but I have no access to the stuff that it's going to take.
Well, what would it take?
To me, we would have to use 4 different types of metals, a lot of copper. The rings would have to either be made out of stainless or Inconel, because those two they don't wear as bad as every other metal on the market. And Monel and Inconel is 2 different metals, but they're made of the same characteristics. But the way they would be made is the one going this way would have to be the larger ring, would have to be Monel, and the one going this way would have to be Inconel, and it had to have a brass sleeve and a copper pin going into this rotation, and a copper ring this way for this rotation and this rotation. And what it would do is it would create a power source to charge whatever batteries that are on the ship to give it the propulsion forward and backwards.
I mean, copper and Inconel and stainless steel are fairly easy to get.
Yeah. I would like to build a scale model, a human scale model where you can get in it, but you can't test it here because it'll create its own magnetic field, from what I understand. And it would interrupt, right?
Yeah, I don't know, actually.
That'd be my biggest fear, is I'd build something that would it would erupt the magnetic field of the earth and the axis of the earth, and it would just cause a problem. But if you were to build it here and take it there, and it actually works, and then you just build it to go faster, to travel across the universe in like one day and back.
That would be awesome. And so Elon Musk is still building chemical rockets, but in Boca Chica, Texas, near Brownsville, he's building a rocket factory that's like the Starship, he's calling it, but is 100% reusable. It'd be able to launch 100 people into space at a time, and he's planning to use it for point-to-point travel on Earth, taking things into orbit, but his real goal is to build a city on Mars. And I understand they're looking for lots of tradespeople. have you considered going down to maybe Brownsville, Boca Chica, and working there?
I would. My biggest problem is the health issue I got going on right now. It was supposed to have already been worked on, but the government kind of shut everything down before we could do anything. I have to have this done in my back. I
Okay.
can't walk days. I mean, for real. I mean, I've literally been working since I was 17 years old, every day of my life. 712s all the time for 25 years.
Wow.
And I'd be interested in designing it for him, for sure.
Do you use any type of CAD program?
No, I just draw it out of my head.
There's I've been doing this. I'm interested in like doing modeling.
I saw yours.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now. Now, if you build a ring this way, and a smaller ring to go inside of that ring, and then make the pins to go in it. Those pins that go in it are the brass pins. And then on the inside of the brass pins will be ceramic. And inside of that ceramic is where the wire would go into to either go to top and bottom. It would go the axis. And then it'd go the same way the other way. But you'd have to have two different, like I said, two different metals that wouldn't interfere with each other. And it wouldn't magnetize. But you know as well as I know that Modell and Inconel does. That would be what the brass sleeves are for, and what the ceramic sleeves where the copper goes in is for. You know, the copper would connect to the center one that spins forward and backwards, and the ceramic would also go on the top the same way. And those two would tell you it'd be a directional pull, forward, backwards, up and down. You know, it's kind of crazy until you've seen it like I have it. My dream was I built it. Everybody thought I was a fool, and I built a small cabin around this thing, and I left here and was gone straight out through the sky, and it was a fireproof whatever, a capsule, and I landed on a beach on the other side of the galaxy, and I got out and you could breathe.
That's an awesome vision.
And I said, there's no way that this is true. Well, I got back in it and came back with no fuel. You think about this, no fuel. And took two people with me, and they said, how in the hell did you build this? I said, it was a dream. And then I woke up. It was because there was two moons in there. And if I'm not mistaken, Jupiter is the only one that has two moons, right?
Oh, Jupiter has a lot of moons. I think it's like 50 or 60.
Okay, but who has two moons?
Mars has two moons.
Okay, so that's where I landed. In my mind, in my dream, that's where I landed, was Mars, on a beach on Mars. But see, the only thing bad about Mars is they're going to try to get humans to adapt to that climate. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to grow anything green there unless they find something here that will absorb the carbon dioxide and exhume oxygen. But they're going to have to build something to do that. You know what I mean? They need to find somebody really young, like whoever's going to go to Mars and build this thing. They need to be raised up in it to where they can look at it. I mean, you don't have to be an intelligent man to put a rack or a structure together. Okay, it's simple, and it's easy to do if you apply yourself. And I was told that I'd never make anything of myself. I got my GED, and my essay on my GED was about Jesus Christ, and that's what got me the most points, because I learned everything about Jesus Christ when I was young, 17, 18, and I absorbed everything, and now I see things that what the Bible speaks of is going on now. And I tell my wife all the time, this is not good. This is something that's in the signs of the 7 seals. A lot of people don't know And they don't care. They don't care to know because they were raised up and they weren't taught the ways. You know, your Bible basic. I mean, your Bible says basic instructions before leaving Earth. Okay, we don't have. We don't just die in this life. If we don't follow the truth, the way of the light, we'll die a spiritual death as well. You know, is that crazy?
I don't think so. I mean,
It's the truth.
it's important to seek the truth and to be your authentic self. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've gone almost 43 years. I am not a criminal. I've never been in trouble. I've had a bunch of speeding tickets building fast cars. But other than that, you know, in the last 3 years, I've been literally physically sick. So I've gotten behind on my child support. But that's the only thing I have against me, you know. And they've actually kind of cut it off because I've been going to these doctors and they have proof now. So they're not trying to make it stack up on me. And I've been honest with them, you know. I have no reason to lie to nobody. None. And I would love to help Mr. Tesla do his job. I would love to be part of that. And I can draw anything he wants to draw. And I could tell him how to build something structurally sound and it work. But with the density on Mars and with everything that's going on that planet, we would have to make something that would adapt to the density there.
yeah,
You know, I mean, I pay attention. Like I said, I may not be a scientist and I might not be a scholar, but I'm telling you, I absorb everything that's ever been told to me and everything I've ever read. And I filter out the bullshit and I stay in tune in what's the truth. You got to stay on, you got to walk that line and be able to see the difference between bullshit and reality.
yeah. It's difficult sometimes because what seems like bullshit today turns into tomorrow's reality. I mean,
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
in 1902, whenever the Wright brothers were building their heavier-than-air flying machine, the government wasn't interested in it. They're like, what will we use that for? People were like, this is impossible.
The government controls every bit of it.
But you know, it's hard to look at what the Wright brothers have and think and imagine a 747. Like, that's almost like an impossibility for somebody to kind of imagine that.
Well, what that is, in my opinion, that is an expansion of mental capabilities. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's 100 parts to your brain, and we only use 5% of it.
Wow.
What if we were able to open up the rest of it?
What do you think it would take to make that happen?
I imagine that there's a way to do it, but people, if it were to happen, I mean, look, after my son Michael passed away in 2003, I was always ADHD and ADD, and my grandparents, my mom, they beat the hell out of me, and they just thought that I had a demon in me, and it wasn't a demon. I was ADD and ADHD. I had a hard time concentrating. When the doctors put me on Adderall, you have no idea how much my mind expanded and absorbed everything. That's how I remember everything. It pretty much washed the fat out of my brain, you know, and I could feel my brain just starting to change. I mean, if people were medicated properly instead of giving them this and giving them that and quit trying to mix everything up, they look at a person and say, that's what's wrong with him. This is what he needs. You know, I mean, I've been going to doctors and they act like I'm some kind of drug addict. And I finally found one doctor that has looked at all my records and like, you know what? You just told me, you know what works for you, but I don't take Adderall no more. I don't. I'm done with it.
But you were mentioning that while you were taking it, you felt like you had expanded mental capabilities.
Yes, it worked.
So why stop taking it? I mean, like,
I couldn't afford it.
Okay. Do you
I mean,
think it would be good for everybody?
I don't think everybody. I think some people are born with intelligence, and some people are born with arrogance. You know what I'm saying? At the
Yeah.
end of it, you know, at the end of it, say it says Gance, Gance, ignorance and intelligence, ignorance and arrogance. Okay, there's three types of people, and you can choose who you want to be, but sometimes you have to go see somebody to help you be that person. But I was given the Adderall because my mind just would not focus on life after I buried my first son. I could not focus in life. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to just hide.
I think that would be a very natural and expected feeling. I know.
What really messed me up is a week after the funeral, me and his mom, we were still together. We went up there to her mother's, which was my mother-in-law's at the time in Oklahoma. And this woman, I watched her, and she's just the most evilest person I ever met in my life. She walked out of her room with her 30-30 and set it down right in front of me against the wall in the living room and went in there and told her daughter, hey, let's go to the store. We'll be back in an hour, and left the gun in front of me.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That is unimaginable.
That's evil. That is pure evil. And she's still that person today.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen a lot of things in life, man. I promise you. I can see past it. You know, I don't hold it against her, but I don't condone it either. Now I know why she can't stay married long.
Hmm.
But like I said, I've been through quite a few things in my life, and surviving a heart attack, going through, burying your first son it really messes up a lot of stuff in your head. But I know I've had dreams about him as his age progressed. I've dreamt about him 5 times, and the last time I seen him I was 20. No, I was 32 years old, just before my heart attack. I seen him,
Wow.
and he talked to me that time, and I could feel his hand, and he grabbed my hand and walked. I walked with him, you know. He's like, Daddy, will you walk me to heaven? And I was like, yeah, I thought you were already there. He's like, no, I've been waiting on you. And I walked with him to the gates of heaven. And he's like, are you coming? And I was like, son, I don't think I can. And he's like, but Dad, I was like, no, I mean, I have your sister to raise. I got to go back home. And he said, okay. He said, I'll see you soon. And I woke up crying, seeing that, It was just crazy, man. It really was.
Yeah, I remember after my grandmother died, having dreams with her about her too.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, it's just like random things, like driving places or some conversation we had, or.
But she was the most influential person in your life, wasn't she?
I don't know. I had a lot of influences. She was definitely very stubborn, had a very powerful personality. She definitely, it was her way or the highway, type of person. So.
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I know that we got way sidetracked on the whole Tesla thing, but it's just kind of giving you an idea why my brain works the way it does. I feel like there's 4 hemispheres in my brain and not 2. I feel that it did help me for a long time. I mean, if I could ever get back on that medication, I would, but I can't find one person to fucking put me on it for nothing. But I know it makes my brain work, like work, like go do this. You're going to do this, and you're going to finish this job, and then go to this job, and that's what I do. I go and finish that job and do that job. There were people in the refinery that loved me when I had it. I promise you. I had it for 10 years. And then one day I was just tired. And I said, I'm not taking it no more. And then heart attack after I quit taking it. It almost killed me.
Wow.
But it wasn't the Adderall that did it. It was me quitting it cold turkey. I quit taking it. Shortly after that, a month after, I had a heart attack. But the funny thing is, when I had the medication, none of this ever happened. And then when I quit taking it, everything just fell down on me. I felt like the world fell in on me.
Dude, do they do that normally? Like just stop it, or do they normally like reduce the dose?
They reduced the dose down on it, but I couldn't afford to go to the doctor no more. I mean, I was working a less paying job. In my mind, I'm worth more than the money that I get paid sometimes because I'm a motivator. I'm not somebody that's going to slow somebody down. I'm going to be right there with them or ahead of them. I'm a leader. I'm not a follower. I've been in supervision with a lot of companies and they all love me. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them still call me, want me to come back to work. And until I get this whatever taken care of on my back, I'm scared to go out there because before I quit working, before I got laid off, I had failed like 3 times. And it was because I lost feeling from my waist down. Like literally lost the feeling. I tripped, fell. I mean, my feet fell out from underneath me. And it's because I have a pinched nerve in between 2 vertebrae in my back, and it's just, there's no cartilage there. It's sitting on top of it. My left leg isn't getting the blood flow it needs to because that artery runs right next to that vein, and both of them are being pinched.
Wow.
I mean, just imagine putting the end of your finger, which is the most painful part of your body, in a vice and just turning the handle. Can you imagine that? But that being in
I cannot.
it's pretty painful.
Yeah, I have a little infection in my pinky right now, and that's enough pain for me. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, from the nail, It's like anyway. So have you heard of Jeff Bezos, the guy that runs Amazon?
No, sir.
So he also has a space company called Blue Origin, and
Okay.
they've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes. They haven't really been very public with their work. But Jeff Bezos, he has a vision of using space to save the Earth, like moving all of the mining and manufacturing off of the Earth.
Yes. There's better and more powerful metal on other planets than there are here. And in our solar system, our planet's the only live planet. And I do believe that's the reason why we have visitors.
And
I believe that.
Yeah.
Remember when I was talking to you, I told you the next day, I told you I saw them. I'm not crazy. And I know that you believe that they exist. And probably everybody that's going to watch this believe that aliens exist. But from what I saw that night, the day before I messaged you, and I gave you the location where I was looking straight up and I saw them. And there was a ship there, but you couldn't see the ship, but you could see the crafts going to it and disappearing in it.
Well,
they're there.
There's a guy in Las Vegas. His name is Robert Bigelow. Mm-hmm. He has a company called Bigelow Aerospace, and they create like inflatable modules, spacecraft, inflatable spacecrafts that they send. They have 2 just test articles in orbit, and they have 1 attached to the International Space Station. But his grandparents had an encounter with an alien, and it really, he really believes them. He's actually funded UFO research, and his logo for his company is like a little alien head. So there are definitely people that are looking into it seriously. I think
I believe that solar panels were an idea from an alien ship.
I mean,
absorbing.
yeah, I I don't know. I mean, possibly it could be interesting. But
Well, who would think let's absorb the sunlight and use it as power?
I mean,
It'd be the same with the ship.
you have plants, absorbing sunlight and turning it into,
Tree.
materials.
Yeah, the plants absorb the sunlight and creates oxygen.
And also creates more plant, and some parts of those plants help us.
And it grows and grows. I mean, what I like about where we're moving to from here is the fact that we're going there, and all you hear is birds chirping. That's it. Nobody around. Nothing. It's just quiet.
And the last question I usually ask people, and I think I already know the answer based upon what you said, but let's see if I'm right. If it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going into space?
If I could take my family with me, I will. All of them. And I know they would.
You might have some convincing to do, it sounds like, in the background.
Well, it's my wife, but I mean, once everybody she knows is going, just like everybody I knew, it's just about going. My mom's the last one. And then I got my two brothers. My brother Bobby was in the military for 20 years. I'm pretty sure he would do it. I mean, it's going to take, if we're ever going to grow this space idea, everybody's got to be like a family. We've got to watch each other's back. We don't need to be trying to cut nobody's throat. We need to find somebody that is adaptable and make it work.
I completely agree with you. I mean, space should be for everybody, and it's going to take all of us to make the potential. So I normally take these interviews and I just post them unedited onto my countdown to the moon.org.
I'm good with it.
You're okay with that? Because you talked about a lot of personal things, and I just wanted.
See, the thing is I don't care, because that's me. I'm one person, and we are all unique. There's not one person in this world that has the same DNA as I do, and I don't really care what other people think about me. I'm an honest person. I tell the truth, and I speak it truthfully. There's nothing to lie about. Our life is our life. We make it how we want to make it. I'd like to be further in life right now, but there's a lot of things that have pretty much stepped in my way, like the health issues throughout life. It slowed me down, and sometimes one time it stopped me for a couple of months, but I got back up and went and did it. After my heart surgery, I was off for 3 months. Most people are off for over a year. I was back in the fab shop, building stuff, doing just as much as I was before I had the heart attack, building the exact same amount, and they didn't know why. They didn't know how, but I was still productive.
It's awesome that you're able to recover like that.
My will is strong.
It takes a strong will to change the universe.
Yes, and it's going to take a strong will to save the human race.
I definitely agree. Well, thank you, Jason, so much for your time and your openness and willingness to talk about these things and those painful issues and things. I think we should probably talk more frequently.
I believe, honestly, everything that I've dealt with in my life, I think, honestly, it has made me who I am today, and I'm glad for it, because it makes me motivated to never stop. They'll probably find me dead with a wrench in my hand one day, or something.
Yeah.
Something I'm doing, because that's what I do. I like to help people. Believe it or not, I have a bunch of people here that I help in Beaumont, like people that can't afford to pay $2,000-3,000 for that car, just bring it to me. We'll talk about that when you get here. You know, I'm an honest person, open person, and I'll tell them what's wrong with it, and I'll fix it for them, and they'll be on their way, and they're happy. There's a lot of people that are happy about it.
That is awesome. And I hope after this COVID-19 thing comes in, maybe we can meet up in person sometime for lunch or something.
Well, I mean, yeah. By the time all this comes to an end, we'll be probably in the country, which that'll be actually more of a single atmosphere. You know, we're moving away from people. You know, Beaumont is full of disinfected COVID stuff, and we need to move. I mean, we're having a lot more crime here in Beaumont, and I got kids. Altogether, we got 6 kids, me and my wife, and they don't need to be raised around this. They don't. They need to be raised in the country like I was.
Oh, what ages are they?
Braylee's 6. Well, Braylee's 8. Huh? Yeah, Braylee will be 9. And then 6 is Letty, 5 is Grayson, 4 is Tucker, 4 is Emma, and 3 is Bella.
Wow.
And I mean, honestly, all of the kids are interested. My son Grayson and Letty and Tucker are always talking about aliens and space and spaceships and stuff like that. So, I mean, they may literally be the kids that grow up to build the stuff that we're talking about. I mean, honestly, I would like to start this. I would like to help them build unique stuff. And I'm pretty sure I can find a way to make it work. But the machine that I always talked about, I mean, I can draw it, but it would be easier to be right next to somebody that can make it on the computer. And then we could go from there. Because, see, it ain't just the 2 spheres inside of each other that we need to worry about. We need to worry about control from the inside of the ship.
It's true.
That's something to think about. So you got to look at paddle setups and all that. You're basically building something like a submarine, and it's aeronautic instead of aquatic. It's a good idea. Good way to think that.
I like it. Aeronautic instead of aquatic.
Yep.
Well, I need to go get dinner, but thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to talking again.
Oh, anytime you want to, just message me and say, hey, let's go.
That's awesome.
I always like to talk. You too.
Y'all have a good night.
Be careful, man.
Bye.